On the 30th of July, humanity spent its entire annual budget. Not money, nature. Everything the Earth can regenerate in a year, the forests it can regrow, the fish it can replenish, the carbon it can absorb, we used all of it by July 30th. That was Earth Overshoot Day, which means that right now, and for the next 5 months, we're not living off the Earth's income anymore. We're living off its savings. And here's what almost nobody says out loud. This isn't a consumption problem, it's a design problem. I'm Dee. Let's read the receipt. Earth Overshoot Day is calculated every year by the Global Footprint Network. The idea is simple. Compare what humanity demands from nature with what the planet's ecosystems can regenerate in 12 months. The day demand overtakes regeneration. That's Overshoot Day. This year, we're using nature 73% faster than it can renew itself. That's the equivalent of living off 1.73 Earths. Last time I checked, we have one. And this isn't new. We've been in overshoot since the early 1970s, every single year for over 50 years. Each year's overdraft doesn't reset in January. It accumulates. Thinner soils, emptier oceans, a hotter atmosphere. Carbon alone is now 61% of our total footprint. Overshoot Day is the one day a year the invoice becomes visible. Now, if you saw the headlines, you might have noticed something odd. This year's date, July 30th, is actually 6 days later than last year's. Progress, right? Read the fine print. The date moved later because scientists revised their data. They adjusted upward how much carbon the ocean absorbs. That accounting change alone moved the date 8 days later. Our actual overshoot? It grew, enough to pull the date 2 days earlier. Net result? A later date, and the highest level of overshoot in human history. That matters, because it tells you the calendar isn't drifting in the right direction on its own. Nothing about this fixes itself. And in case you're hoping someone official is quietly on it, alongside this year's date, the Global Footprint Network published a report asking whether governments are prepared for overshoot. The finding: not a single country meaningfully addresses overshoot risk in its national planning. China's 5-year plan scored highest of anyone. The European Union scored lower than its sustainability rhetoric would suggest. Nobody is steering, which means the steering is up for grabs. So here's where degrowth comes in, because Overshoot Day is basically the degrowth argument written as a date. First, overshoot is not spread evenly. If everyone on Earth lived like the average person in Qatar, Overshoot Day would fall on February 4th. We'd need 10 Earths. Live like the average American? March 14th, just over 5 Earths. Meanwhile, countries like Bangladesh and Nigeria don't have an overshoot day at all. They never exceed their share. The planet is not being overspent by humanity in general. It's being overspent by some of the richest economies. Second, what's driving it isn't human need. It's an economic operating system that has to grow forever to stay stable. Every economy on Earth is designed to expand its throughput of energy and materials, year after year indefinitely. Run that program on a finite planet, and overshoot isn't a malfunction. It's the system working exactly as designed. And that's why degrowth isn't doom. It's the opposite. Degrowth says, high-income economies should deliberately scale down excess energy and material use. The wasteful, the extractive, the pointless, while protecting and improving the things that actually make life good: health, housing, care, community, time. Shrink the footprint by design, so it never gets shrunk for us by collapse. Because one way or another, an economy that needs 1.73 Earths is going to meet the fact that there's only one. Now, I know the reply that's forming. Relax, technology will decouple growth from resources. We'll keep growing the economy and shrink the footprint at the same time. Here's the uncomfortable data. We have been getting more efficient for the entire 50 years we've been in overshoot. Better engines, smarter factories, leaner supply chains, genuinely dramatic gains. And in that same window, humanity's material use more than tripled, from around 30 billion tons a year in 1970 to over 100 billion tons today. The UN expects it to double again by 2060 if nothing changes. Efficiency didn't shrink the economy's appetite. it fed it. Every gain got reinvested in more production, more products, more throughput. That's not an argument against clean technology. We need every bit of it. It's an argument that technology inside a grow forever system is chasing a target that's running away from it. Change the system's goal, and suddenly the technology starts winning. Which raises the real question: can a country actually deliver a good life without overspending the planet? Yes, and there's a name that comes up every time: Costa Rica. It tops the 2026 Happy Planet Index, the ranking that measures how well nations turn natural resources into long, happy lives. Life expectancy, over 81 years, higher than the United States. Self-reported well-being, third highest in the world. And it does all that with an ecological footprint about 1/3 the size of the American one, on a GDP per capita less than half as big. The United States, with all its wealth, ranks 122nd. That's not an accident of geography. It's decades of design choices. Costa Rica abolished its army in 1948 and has poured public money into health, education, and forests ever since. It's not perfect, and it's still slightly above one planet living, but it's within sight of it, while delivering longer lives than some of the other richest countries on Earth. More is not the same as better. Costa Rica is the receipt for that too. And the date can move. That's the entire point of the campaign around it. #MoveTheDate. The Global Footprint Network calculates that cutting fossil fuel CO2 emissions in half would push Overshoot Day about 3 months later. 3 months, from one redesign. Add the rest of the Degrowth toolkit: buildings we retrofit instead of demolish, food systems that don't waste 1/3 of what they grow, products designed to be repaired instead of replaced, cities built for people instead of cars, and you're not nudging the date anymore, you're redesigning the calendar. The goal has a name: get humanity back to one Earth, living off the income, not the savings. Here's what I'd love you to take from this. Overshoot Day is not a guilt trip, it's a diagnosis, and you don't fix a design flaw by feeling bad, you fix it by redesigning. If this reframed the headline for you, share this video with one person who saw July 30th and scrolled past. Check out the resources below and the links, including the footprint calculator, so you can find your own Overshoot Day. Let's build a world that thrives by design, not by default. I'm Dee. See you in the next one.